The type of stress that is becoming a problem is the type of stress that disrupts your normal ability to cope. You sleep the whole night, wake up in the morning and find out, did I sleep? As morning reached, I want to get some more sleep.
Those are like two symptoms in one.
Abuse is only physical. That's a myth. Because a scar is not a wound, there are certain things that can happen to a person and create scars that are not physical. I find that a lot more women are more willing and open to be vulnerable in the context of counseling and therapy compared to men. In our everyday life, there are opportunities for you to stand up and say, you know what, I can't handle this anymore, let me speak up. So a person is beginning to see things that other people are not able to see, so hallucinations. So a person is able to hear voices that other people are not able to hear. So these are situations where it's now an emergency.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the LJE 360 podcast, a circle of insight and perspective where we discuss about issues affecting life, society, entertainment, education, and everything in between. I am Cecilia Memeh, your host, and on today's episode, we are discussing mental health, abuse, and healing, breaking the silence as it relates to victims of different forms of abuse. To bring clarity to this episode, we have a professional mental health expert joining us, Mr. Fabian Igbaji. Welcome, Mr. Fabian, on today's episode. Welcome to the LJE 360 podcast.
Thank you very much. My
pleasure. Yes, we are glad to have you here with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so Mr. Fabian Igbaji is the managing partner and lead therapist at CYD Sessions, a leading psychotherapy practice based in Abuja. He is a certified psychotherapist, a public health expert, and a passionate mental health advocate. Once again, Mr. Fabian, you are welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so before we move on to our conversation, what sparked interest in your becoming a mental health professional?
That's an interesting question.
Yes. It's actually a very, it's an area where you rarely see experts. So for people like you, what led you into that area of practice?
Okay, so this whole thing probably started before I became a teenager.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So I found myself in the midst of friends who perceived me to be a good listener.
Okay.
Beautiful. And they thought that I seem to be a person who is able to, conduct myself when I'm around people. That's what they saw. So a few of them, it happened one after the other. One person decided that they wanted to be friends with some other person and they did not know how to go about it.
Okay.
So they met me, and with a few questions, I was able to guide them.
Okay.
And the first person who came, his own friends were very sure that he would not have been able to be friends with that person by himself. So they asked him, who did you speak with? And then he kept referring people to me.
Yes, sir.
So that's where I think it started.
Okay.
And then with several events through my teenagehood, I found that there's a bit of skill here, an innate skill right here. Through my career, different events happened, and I found myself recognizing that I think this is something that if I study and do some training in, I would be proficient.
Wow, that's good. So how long have you been in this field?
This year would make it 6 years.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Practicing.
Okay, so let's set the foundation for this conversation. How would you explain mental health?
Okay, so thank you for the question. Mental health basically is the state of a person's emotional, psychological, or behavioral well-being. Okay. Basically. According to WHO, a person is mentally healthy when they are able to conduct themselves in a very healthy way.
Okay.
In spite of, normal everyday stress, they're able to conduct themselves, they're able to relate with other people, and they're able to handle tasks in an effective way.
Okay. So many people misunderstand abuse.
Okay.
They think that abuse is only physical. So can you explain to us the different forms of abuse and how each one of them affect a person's mental health?
Okay. First of all, abuse is not only physical, right? Abuse is both physical, mental, and emotional, right? People become affected in ways that you may not see physically, all right? Now, there are different types of abuse. We have emotional abuse. Emotional abuse in the context of where a person is being humiliated consistently, spoken harshly, and other forms of insult, manipulation, okay? So emotional abuse tends to make a person to lose their sense of self-worth. You know, the value that they place on themselves, they tend to lose it, okay? We also have verbal abuse. Verbal abuse is when people are consistently using harsh words on other people, right? Name calling, disrespectful labeling, right? Can be termed verbal abuse, okay? We also have sexual abuse, where a person is put in a position where they are demanded of sex. You understand? Without consent, all right? Either without consent or forcefully. You understand? So we have sexual abuse. We also have financial abuse, where a person's finances are not under their own control. Right? Somebody is working and earns money, but they are not able to use the money or have access to it as at when they need to. Okay. There's also neglect. Neglect is abuse, right? Neglect is a tendency for a person to be ignored, right? When and neglect can have a far-reaching impact on people, especially when it happens from childhood. You understand? When a person experiences neglect for a prolonged time, they start to have issues around attachment. You understand? Difficulty recognizing healthy attachment, you know, or when it is it's unhealthy to cling too much, or to someone,
or they seek attention too much,
or they seek attention too much. You understand? You know, or in several other situations, a person may be having difficulty opening up for connection.
That's another form of abuse.
No, it's still part of what can happen when a person is neglected. They learn to be sufficient with themselves emotionally, right? To the extent where when they even grow up and they have reached the age to be able to connect with other people, they are unable to open up and allow other people emotionally come in, because they do not think it is safe. They don't know that if you come in, will you stay? Because they were neglected. Will you, if I let you come in, yes, trust issues.
So this brings us to the long-term impact. Why do the effects of abuse often last long after the abuse itself has stopped?
Okay, so in this situation, people who have experienced abuse unconsciously learn to think that they are at fault. It's because of their failures. That's why they are being abused. So they internalize it. They learn to think that there is a certain role that they have played to have attracted such an abuse. You understand? So they think, I'm at fault. They take ownership of the blame. You understand? Yes, they take ownership of the blame. You know, so even when the physical effect of the abuse has left, you know, they are still ruminating on, they're still ruminating on the pain, on what has happened, and the possibilities that, this may have been my fault. I probably attracted all of this. If I was not this bad, this would not have happened. You understand? So that self-blame that continues to revolve in their mind, you know. So sometimes that could be a reason.
So for some people that are listening to us, they may not even realize that what they're experiencing is connected to abuse. What are the signs that may show someone is struggling because of abuse, even when they do not realize it? Are there any signs they should look out for, or people can look out for to know that, I'm experiencing an abuse?
Okay, some signs a person can look out for is a scenario where a person starts to lose interest in the things that usually interest them, right? you find out that there are certain things that you are usually excited about. Eventually, you're no longer excited about those things, right? Another sign is when a person starts to withdraw from society, from friends, from communities that usually they're interested in. Withdrawal and isolation. Right. Other things you could also notice is issues around sleep.
Okay.
Right. People will such a person may start struggling with issues around sleep. So for some people, it could be issues around not finding sleep. So insomnia, they're unable to sleep. For other people, they sleep too much. You sleep the whole night, wake up in the morning and find out, did I sleep? As morning reached, I want to get some more sleep.
Those are like two symptoms in one. Finding it difficult to sleep and not sleeping too much.
Yes, so it's different for different people. Yeah, so some people under such abusive situation find out they sleep so much, they can't get enough sleep.
Let me give this scenario. So for example, I am usually a person that sleeps well.
Okay.
The moment I begin to lose sleep, there's a possibility or there might be a sign that I'm experiencing a form of abuse.
Yeah, it may not just, so it's not just only abuse that can...
Not only abuse, yes.
It can be depression, anxiety, you understand? So stressful situations can elicit withdrawal for you who maybe sleep.
Who loves sleeping too much. Right? I start losing sleep. And for people that do not love sleeping, some of them might begin to sleep because they are in a state of...
It may not necessarily go
that way.
Okay. You understand? Okay. But when you realize that normally a period of sleep that is sufficient for you, you find yourself sleeping more than that. Even during the day, you are yawning, you're feeling sleepy. You understand? Something is going on.
Something is going wrong.
Yes.
Okay, this is also connected to the next question.
Okay.
How can someone tell the difference between normal life stress and a serious mental health issue that needs professional attention?
Okay, so normal life stress is usually the type of situation that a person will be able to adapt to and they can address, stress that gets you to be so worried or disturbed to the extent where if you sleep or conduct or go about, recreational activities, you can overcome it. If you discuss with friends about the issues, you can feel better, right? But the type of stress that is becoming a problem is the type of stress that disrupts your normal ability to cope, your normal ability to handle situations, right? So, for example, if a person is struggling with anger, right, and that anger persists, anger, sadness, worries, and those states of mind tend to persist for weeks, and you're not able to, because of the fear or because of anger or because of sadness or because of grief, you're unable to handle the things that you're usually able to handle. You understand? Even after sleeping, resting, taking care of some other doing recreational activities, taking care of yourself, you're still not able to come out of it. Then you need to seek professional help.
Okay, so now we've talked about self-blame, and I remember you mentioning the reason why survivors carry some of these emotional burdens is because they keep on ringing the occurrence in their mind. So now let's bring this to Nigeria, where mental health is still heavily stigmatized. How does culture, religion, or family pressure affect abuse and victims of abuse that are seeking help?
Okay, so for culture, let me start with culture.
Okay.
Some people in certain cultures, there are some things you don't want to talk about openly because you are worried that your family name will be diminished or bastardized, you understand? So the culture of silence can actually prevent people who actually want to open up and talk. It prevents them from freely opening up. You understand? The culture of who to talk to, right? So some people they already believe that if I'm going through a certain thing, I should speak to, certain people in society, And the thing is, sometimes, while it's not a bad thing to speak with certain people in society that you usually culturally would speak to, some of those people may not have the competence to be able to handle the situation. You understand?
Yeah.
Right? Now, when we talk of religion, prayer is not a bad thing. Prayer is very helpful, right? But sometimes when a person who is experiencing a solid situation that needs to be addressed in certain specific professional way, when you ask them to pray it away, it's a way of undermining or devaluing their experience, right? And taking away from them the opportunity that would have helped them to deal with that situation, right?
Yes.
Prayer is good, right? But to pray away certain situations, maybe taking away an aspect of help that they could have benefited.
But in this instance, can we also blame our religious leaders, our pastors, and what have you? Because sometimes you see some of these victims, they go to church. The first point of call for some victims is their pastor. And over time, experience has shown that these pastors or these religious leaders, they refer these people back to prayer. And we all know that, yes, like you mentioned, prayer is good, but prayer wouldn't solve everything. Don't you think these religious leaders, because Nigeria is a country where mental health is not taken as serious as it should.
Yes.
So don't you think we should blame our religious leaders? We should blame not just religious leaders. There are some people that I think for every individual there's a person you might look up to as a person. Yes. For some couple, they have like maybe is it patrons or sponsors that you usually would want to speak to when issues evolve.
Yes.
But you will still see them telling you to go and pray, keep on praying. And we've actually experienced circumstances where some persons lose their life in the course of abuse because of the response or the advice that they got from them.
Yeah.
What do you think our religious leaders, people in position of authority, what do you think they can do?
Okay, so I think with this, a lot more awareness has to be made in the context of how certain unfortunate events should not be, can be handled other ways, right? While prayer is a good thing, there are other ways, there are professional ways of handling specific incidents and issues, right? And awareness, I believe that if pastors and other religious figures are being helped to recognize the role of professional counseling and therapy in certain situations, then while they fulfill the aspect of aligning the person spiritually, they can also refer such persons for professional support.
So prayer and professional support should go together and
yes.
not
one over the other. Yes.
Okay, that's good. So there are a lot of misconceptions of out there in the public space. Are there any myths? Are there any myths about mental health and abuse that you think that we should urgently correct?
Okay, I think one of them is that mental disorders, a person who is overwhelmed with mental issues and struggling seriously, that such people are mad.
Really?
They are not mad.
So there's the perception of Okay, so that's the first myth. Yes. People who are suffering from mental disorder, they are mad. They are not, yes. So that's not correct.
It's not correct.
So we are correcting it right now. That's not correct. So if you see anybody that is suffering from any mental disorder, it doesn't mean that they are mad. Okay, so what's the next myth?
The next myth is that strong people do not need therapy.
Woo!
Or counseling.
Okay, that's wrong. That's not correct.
Yes.
So that's the second myth. Strong people do not need counseling. That's not correct, please. Everyone, I believe everyone in need of it.
Yes, should go for it. And okay. I'm saying this, we're talking of abuse. Yes. Abuse can go both ways. A man can be abused.
Yes,
a woman can be abused.
Also be abused. Yes.
In my practice, I find that a lot more women are more willing and open to be vulnerable in the context of counseling and therapy compared to men.
But why is that the case? What do you think should be the reason?
It goes very far into childhood. where you start telling a boy, man up, be strong.
Yes.
Be strong. So men begin to see vulnerability as weakness. Vulnerability should not be a sign of weakness. The tendency for you're experiencing a pain, you're carrying a burden. That willingness to sit before a person who is trained and able to handle it and open up and share so that the load is lightened. You develop the skill to be able to manage yourself and be better. That should be an opportunity, not a sign that you're weak.
Okay, so we're advising the younger generation of men that they should learn to be vulnerable.
The younger generation of men and even men of older generation,
it is never too late to seek help or to speak to people. That's okay, that's very good. Do we have any other myths?
Yes, we do.
Okay, let's go on.
Abuse is only physical. That's a myth.
That's a myth. Yeah, that's true.
That's a myth. The fact that you cannot see a person's
being beaten or being hit does not mean that an abuse has not occurred.
A scar is not a wound.
Okay.
Right? A scar is only an evidence that a certain abuse occurred. Right? Yes. So in the same vein, because a scar is not a wound, there are certain things that can happen to a person and create scars that are not physical. Okay, so you can have physical scars and emotional scars, invisible scars. But people ignore or downplay the impact of emotional or psychological scars because you cannot see
them.
it. You understand, right? So because you can't see, doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
It's not there.
Yeah,
yeah, that's good. Do we still have more myths?
No, I think that's
okay. Okay, so that moving on to the next question. For someone listening right now who feels deeply connected to this conversation, what is the first step they should take towards getting help?
The first step I would say is do not stay silent.
Okay, do not stay silent.
Do not stay silent.
Speak up.
Speak up, right? So for some people, they are more confident or comfortable speaking with people they are familiar with.
Okay.
For other people, they are more comfortable speaking with people they are not familiar with. Reach into yourself and identify what kind of person you are, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So when you identify who you are, if you can now say, okay, if I prefer speaking with familiar people, that can be a starting point. Talk to somebody you're familiar with who is capable of giving you some level of confidentiality and non-judgment.
Okay.
All right. If a person is able not to not judge you, then they will be able to escalate it to quarters where help can come from. Right. Okay. But if you are able to handle speaking with people you're not familiar with, then helplines, open up, speak up. Right. Help is out there. Okay. There are NGOs, there are individuals, there are organizations, there are professionals who can provide help.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so that's good. So from what you mentioned, the first step is identify yourself, then speak up. Identify someone that you can connect with, and then speak up. Okay, so now let's move on to the next question. In faith-based communities, many people ask whether prayer alone is enough. Do you think faith and professional mental health care work together?
Yes, they can work together.
Okay.
Yes, because faith will deal with a person's spirit, right? A man has spirit, a man has the body, a man has the mind, right? Now, the mind is where the work and the effort of a psychotherapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a counselor will come in, right?
Yeah.
And when the faith aspect is being dealt with by religious figures, the aspect of the mind will now be dealt with by professionals. Right? So
like
they can
yourself.
go just like myself.
Okay, so there are moments when things become very serious. At what point should someone consider their mental health situation an emergency?
Okay. A person's mental health can start to be considered to be an emergency when they are unable to deal with normal stressful situations anymore, right? Consistently, they are unable to deal with it. That's one. Secondly, when as a result of stress, they cannot take care of themselves. You see how physically they are unkept, their environment is unkept, or when they start to experience sensations that people around are not able to experience. So a person is beginning to see things that other people are not able to see. So hallucinations. So a person is able to hear voices that other people are not able to hear. Or a person is able to feel things on their skin that other people are not able to feel, right? So these are situations where it's now an emergency, right? But the truth is, we do not have to wait to that place, to that
till
point.
it gets an emergency situation.
Before you speak up, before you seek psychological support or intervention, right? And in our everyday life, there are opportunities for you to stand up and say, you know what, I can't handle this anymore. Let me speak up.
Let me speak up.
Yes.
But is our society even giving them enough ability to want to even speak up, or enough belief that let me speak up? Because I feel we still have a long way to go as a country. But before we get further into that, for some persons who might be having suicidal thoughts, what can they do immediately? Because I think last year and some years back, it was all over in the media space where you hear of people, you see someone at Third Mainland Bridge, they want to jump into the lagoon. That's like becoming suicidal. For people like that, what do you think they can do immediately?
Okay, suicide is a very...
If you're having a suicidal thought.
Yes. Suicide is a very dicey state, you know, and so it could be suicide, it could be self-harming, right?
Okay.
You know, sometimes people start from a place of self-harming before they start, you know, ideating on suicide. Now, when a person is beginning to reach that place, it's very helpful for them not to stay alone. You know, let them not isolate themselves. Let them be with people. But sometimes, unfortunately, the situation the person is such that they don't even want to be with people. You understand, right? But it is helpful when you know that those kinds of thoughts are beginning to come up. The idea of suicide is beginning to come up. It's very important to not be by yourself, be around people. That's one. Secondly, reach out to people who gives you a sense of safety and a sense of, you know, there are certain people you think about that you feel safe, you feel like you are not judged, right? Reach out to such people. Third, it's also important to recognize that there are institutions available with helplines that you can call, you understand, that can help you manage the state where you are and de-escalate that feeling, right? And then go to a hospital.
Okay.
Yes.
Go to a hospital.
A hospital, yes.
Are there hospitals that when you go there and tell them I'm having a suicidal thought, do they really listen?
Yes.
Hospitals, do you think they have they give access for such when it is not like a mental clinic?
Okay, so I believe that medical doctors, the purpose of medical doctors and the work they do is the well-being, the health and well-being of the general populace, right? The general public. A listening ear is not very expensive, you know, to an extent. Doctors can actually provide, you know, some level of first aid, you know, especially those ones that have been trained to. But of course, you have psychologists in hospitals who work there. You know, you have counselors, you have social workers there too, who are capable of providing, you know, some level of psychological first aid, you know, and help de-escalate the way you're feeling, you know. So
okay, so now this is for our listeners who may know someone, they are not the ones going through mental health struggles or any form of abuse, but they know someone who is. How can they offer support without causing more harm?
Okay, I think one thing that can be done is when somebody in such distress is sharing certain things, you listen without judging.
Listen without judging,
right? It's very, very important, you know. Seek to understand the situation that they find themselves, right? There is nothing I would share with you that will make you totally understand it the way I'm feeling it, you understand? So when you express empathy, it helps you to subdue your own willingness to judge,
The person.
And
Or
all of that, or be judgmental.
Be judgmental.
So when you apply empathy, it helps them to recognize that this person is getting it, even though they don't get it the way I'm feeling it. Yes, it's accepting the way what is going on, right?
Yeah.
So that's one. The second thing is don't be in a hurry to offer advice.
Okay.
You understand?
So I shouldn't be in a hurry to offer advice.
Yes, don't be in a hurry to offer advice. You understand? So in a situation where somebody has gone through abuse, right? Advice, when rushed, may not be very helpful, because your advice may be coming from your own belief systems, your own experiences, which may not totally align.
Understanding where the person is coming from.
Yes, may not totally align with their own experience. Your advice may turn out to be judgmental, and at that point, unconsciously, you understand? At that point, the person might just read the judgment and go silent. You understand? So, first, listen without judging. Don't rush to advice. Offer presence. Give the support. Offer presence. You understand? So, and then you can support the person to connect with a professional who will be able to provide skilled support. Right? I think that can be very helpful.
Okay. Yes. So thank you. Thank you for clarity that you've given us so far. Before we go, as a media platform, we have a responsibility as well. Yes. What role do you think media platforms play in changing the narrative around mental health and abuse?
They play a very important role, because they contribute to breaking the silence. You understand? Such platforms like this gives people the opportunity to hear things that demystify or breaks certain error that they may have had in the past. Okay, so wrong beliefs will be corrected, right? Okay. Awareness will be created. People will get to have expanded view on certain particular topics. You understand? So, yeah.
And finally, before we wrap up, what final message would you like to share with abuse survivors who may be listening and feeling hopeless right now?
Okay, so what I want to say is that you are not your experience.
Okay.
You are not your experience. Healing is possible. I like to tell people that nobody loves you greater than you have the capacity to love yourself. Yes, I like to tell people that, because self-worth is something that is very important for people to have. What abuse does is that it rips people off. It rips them up of their self-worth, esteem, confidence, willingness to recognize themselves as valuable, right? So I want you people to know that you are a valuable person. There's help out there. Healing is possible. No matter how stressful or disruptive you are feeling right now, you can be better. People have experienced it, and they have come out of it. Healing is not a destination. Healing is a journey. The fact that the incident may have happened 6 months ago and you are still struggling with it, or 2 years ago and you are still struggling with it, does not mean that with the right support, you cannot come out of it. Okay. You can.
Okay. Right. So would encourage them to be open to help.
Yes.
Because some persons, like you mentioned, there's a lot of withdrawal syndrome within our space. Once it comes to seeking a therapist, no, don't worry, I'm fine. I'll pray, I'll do this, I'll do that. But we need to let people know that they need to speak up. Silence is not going to do anything better for them. So thank you, Mr. Fabian, for joining us on this episode. It has been a very enlightening one.
Yeah.
I'm so excited with whatever you've given to us and to our viewers out there. So once again, thank you for joining us on LJE 360 podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So to our viewers, if you are watching and this conversation describes what you are going through, remember that you are not alone. Mental health matters and healing is possible. This is LJE 360 podcast. Do well to subscribe and follow us on all our social media platforms at LJE News. Until our next episode, stay safe.